Did you know that nearly 40% of people who keep working past the age of 60 say they feel more stressed, exhausted, and less satisfied with their lives than they ever did when they fully retired? It's a surprising statistic because many of us think staying busy with work keeps us sharp and fulfilled. But what if the reality is quite different? What if pushing yourself to keep working after 60 is actually doing more harm than good, physically, mentally, and emotionally? If you're still working past 60, this message isn't just another piece of advice. It might change how you imagine your future, how you see your days ahead, and maybe even inspire you to take a step you've been putting off for too long. Because here's the truth, your life after work can be richer, more joyful, and deeply fulfilling, but only if you allow yourself the chance to step away from the daily grind. Think about this, are you waking up feeling excited about the day, or is it just another long stretch of stress and fatigue? Are you making time for the things that really matter, family, hobbies, or even just peace of mind? If you hesitate answering these questions, you're not alone. And that's exactly why this honest advice could be the turning point you need. So stay with me, because what comes next will reveal not only why retiring sooner can be a gift but also how to make that transition without fear or uncertainty. Evelyn is 62. For over 30 years, she poured her heart into nursing, comforting the sick, calming the anxious, holding the hands of strangers in their most vulnerable moments. She was the kind of nurse everyone trusted. Dependable. Compassionate. But when the time came to retire, Evelyn didn't feel the relief she had expected. Instead, she felt fear. The bills didn't stop. Her savings weren't as deep as she had hoped. And so, like many others in her shoes, she picked up part-time shifts, just until things stabilized. But that was 2 years ago. Now, Evelyn wakes up before the sun, not because she wants to, but because her aching knees won't let her sleep in. Her mornings begin with coffee she can barely taste and a rush of anxiety about whether she'll be able to keep up with the demands of the day. The clinic where she works is understaffed and chaotic. The hours are shorter than they used to be, but they drain her more than ever. Outside of work, things don't get much easier. Her daughter relies on her to help with the grandchildren, school pickups, weekend babysitting, emergency sick days. Evelyn never says no, even when her body begs her to. She skips her own doctor appointments to make room for everyone else's needs. Her once vibrant garden now sits overgrown, a quiet symbol of how little time she has for herself. Evelyn's story might sound painfully familiar. Not because it's extreme, but because it's common. Maybe you're living it in your own way. You're still working, still pushing through, convincing yourself that it's just what has to be done. You tell yourself you'll rest later. That your family needs you to stay strong. That stopping now would be selfish or irresponsible. But the truth is, Evelyn started to feel like a ghost in her own life. Days passed, but she wasn't living, just managing. Just surviving. And yet, she carried all the guilt in the world for even thinking about stepping back. She worried what others might say. She feared losing her purpose. Until something changed. One evening, after forgetting her grandson's school recital, a moment she promised she'd never miss, Evelyn sat alone in her car and cried. Not from weakness, but from realization, she was spending all her energy surviving a life that no longer felt like her own. Evelyn's story is not about failure. It's about awakening. She's not alone, and neither are you. Because retirement isn't about giving up. It's about finally choosing yourself after years of choosing everyone else. Most people believe that working past 60 helps keep them young, mentally sharp, physically active, and socially connected. But what no one tells you is that your body after 60 doesn't respond to stress the way it used to. The same job that once felt fulfilling can start to feel like a slow drain on your health. And often, the damage isn't dramatic, it's quiet, invisible, and dangerously easy to ignore. Let's take a closer look at what happened to Evelyn. At first, going back to work didn't seem like a big deal. A few shifts a week, just enough to bring in some extra money and keep her busy. But those few shifts became more frequent. The staff at her clinic leaned on her experience, and Evelyn, always dependable, kept saying yes. She stopped noticing how much her body had changed since her 40s. The long hours on her feet weren't just tiring, they were depleting. She wasn't just sore at the end of the day, she was in pain. Her recovery took longer after even minor exertion. And something more subtle was happening too, her mood shifted. She became more irritable, more anxious, and more withdrawn at home. She brushed it off as just getting older, but the truth was deeper. Chronic stress at her age had begun to wreak havoc on her system. Elevated cortisol, the stress hormone, was interrupting her sleep, suppressing her immune function, and raising her blood pressure. Her once consistent energy levels were replaced by unpredictable crashes. She began skipping her regular doctor appointments to avoid time off work. Ironically, the job that was supposed to help her feel secure was slowly making her feel unstable. And she's not alone. Studies show that seniors working under consistent stress are more likely to suffer from heart disease, diabetes, joint inflammation, insomnia, and even memory loss. It's not the work itself, it's the pressure, the pace, and the lack of time to care for yourself. At this stage in life, the body needs longer rest periods, slower mornings, and more frequent health checkups, not another 8-hour shift on your feet. But here's something Evelyn learned the hard way: by the time your body starts shouting, it's already been whispering for a long time. She remembered one day standing in the break room and realizing she couldn't remember the last time she laughed. Not just a chuckle, but a real, deep laugh. That moment hit her harder than any ache or pain. Because it made her ask, is this how I want to spend the next 10 years of my life? So ask yourself now, have you noticed your energy fading more quickly than it used to? Are you pushing through fatigue and thinking, this is just part of aging? It doesn't have to be. Let us know in the comments, what's one thing your body has been trying to tell you lately? We'd love to hear your story. And if you're loving this video so far, go ahead and tap that like button. Drop a love emoji in the comment section to show you're here, you're listening, and you believe it's never too late to make a better choice for your health. We often think that working longer is a responsible choice, a way to stay productive, avoid dipping into savings, and feel needed. But what no one warns you about are the quiet, emotional costs that come with postponing retirement. Costs that don't show up on your paycheck, but instead show up in your relationships, your memories, and your sense of belonging. For Evelyn, it started with small sacrifices. A family brunch missed here, a school recital skipped there. She told herself she'd make it up to them. After all, she was helping the family financially, wasn't that just as valuable? But slowly, the calendar began filling up with missed milestones. She began to realize that while she was working hard for her loved ones, she was no longer with them. One Saturday, Evelyn agreed to cover a shift at the clinic again. It was her grandson's birthday party. The plan was simple: balloons, backyard games, a homemade cake. She thought she could leave work early, arrive in time for cake and gifts, and still show her face. But by the time she got off, she was stuck in traffic. When she walked in, the last of the guests were leaving, and her grandson was half asleep on the couch with frosting on his cheek and unopened presents at his feet. She smiled through it, but inside, something cracked. That night, her daughter didn't say much, but she didn't have to. Moments like these aren't just disappointing. They chip away at your sense of presence in your own family. Your grandchildren won't remember whether you gave them a bigger birthday gift, they'll remember whether you showed up. They'll remember who laughed with them in the yard, who clapped the loudest at their school play, who sat next to them on the swings. But Evelyn missed more than just events. She missed connections. While she was working odd hours, her retired friends were building a new rhythm, joining walking clubs, having morning coffee meetups, volunteering at the local library, even going on day trips together. Evelyn started feeling like an outsider in her own social circle. She began saying no to invitations because she was either working, or too tired to enjoy anything. And this is a pattern many seniors don't recognize until it's already in full swing. The longer you stay in the work cycle, the harder it becomes to stay connected to life outside of it. You lose touch with peers who've moved into a slower, more community-oriented lifestyle. You skip the little joys that help you feel human, like spontaneous lunches, nature walks, or just sitting on the porch without a schedule. Loneliness among working seniors is often invisible. You might see coworkers every day, but real connection, the kind that fills your spirit, is rare when your energy is spent just trying to keep up. Evelyn realized something important: the people she loved never asked her to keep working. They missed her presence, not her paycheck. And when she finally started saying no to extra shifts, something unexpected happened. Her daughter smiled more. Her grandchildren clung to her tighter. Her phone rang more with invitations instead of obligations. She didn't regret working hard all her life. But she did regret the moments she let slip away, believing that time would wait for her. So if you've been caught in that same loop, ask yourself, what memories are you trading for your next paycheck? And will it be worth it when you look back 10 years from now? And just wait, Because the next reason Evelyn chose to walk away from work? It had nothing to do with her schedule or her health. It was about something far more personal, something that changed how she saw her own worth completely. When most people think about retirement, they picture financial worry, restlessness, or losing their sense of purpose. But the truth is, stepping away from work, especially after 60, can be one of the most healing, liberating decisions you ever make. For Evelyn, retirement wasn't the end of anything. It was the beginning of everything she had forgotten about herself. In the first few weeks after leaving her nursing job, she found herself waking up without the usual heaviness in her chest. The mental weight she had carried for years, worrying about patients, paperwork, being understaffed, began to lift. She noticed her thoughts weren't racing the moment she opened her eyes. There was quiet. Calm. She could move through her mornings without rushing or bracing for the next demand. Evelyn began journaling again, something she hadn't done since her 30s. She wrote about the small things, the way the air felt on her morning walk, the sound of birds outside her kitchen window, the way her tea steeped just right when she had time to sit and wait. Then, one quiet afternoon, she pulled open a drawer and found an old watercolor set. Dried out, dusty, and untouched for over 20 years. She sat down, hesitated for a long time, and then dipped her brush in water. That first painting wasn't perfect. But it didn't need to be. What mattered was that she remembered something deeply important, that creating, expressing, and simply enjoying her time was enough. Over the next few weeks, Evelyn painted nearly every morning. She signed up for a local art class at the library. Reconnected with old friends she hadn't seen in years. They started meeting for lunch again. She went to a community concert, browsed a farmer's market on a weekday, even spent an afternoon just sitting on a bench at the lake, doing nothing but listening and breathing. All the things she thought she was too busy to do had been waiting for her all along. And here's the thing, this wasn't just about having free time. It was about healing. When you're constantly working, your nervous system stays in survival mode. Your brain rarely gets to rest. But once you slow down, your body and mind begin to restore themselves in subtle but powerful ways. Your sleep deepens. Your anxiety softens. You laugh more. You remember who you were before everything became about obligations. Evelyn didn't just feel more relaxed, she felt more herself. And research supports her experience. Studies consistently show that early retirement, particularly from stressful roles, is associated with lower levels of depression, improved memory, and greater life satisfaction. Because when you give yourself space to rest, you make room for joy. So let me ask you, what hobby have you always dreamed of trying, but never had time for? Is it painting? Writing? Fixing up that old shed in your backyard? Maybe you've always wanted to learn an instrument, bake from scratch, or start a small garden. Share it in the comments. Tell us what's been tugging at your heart all these years. Because your retirement isn't just a finish line. It's a doorway to creativity, connection, and calm. And the time to walk through it? Might be now. Retiring smart doesn't mean having millions in the bank. It means knowing what you actually need, and planning in a way that gives you peace, not panic. Evelyn didn't have a financial advisor or a large inheritance. But what she did have was a decision. She was no longer willing to trade her time and health for the illusion of security. So how did she do it? First, she got radically honest about her expenses. She sat down with a notebook, no apps, no spreadsheets, just a pen, paper, and her bank statements. She wrote down every bill, every recurring subscription, every little thing she didn't even realize was draining her money month after month. And then she asked herself, what do I actually use? What truly matters? To her surprise, trimming her monthly spending by just 20% gave her enough breathing room to stop picking up those extra shifts. She canceled services she hadn't touched in years, swapped dining out with cozy meals at home, and found joy in the simplicity she had overlooked while working. Next, Evelyn downsized, not dramatically, but intentionally. She sold a few pieces of furniture she no longer used, rented out her extra room to a visiting nurse, and shifted to a car with better fuel efficiency. These weren't desperate moves. They were empowering ones. Each choice brought her closer to the life she wanted, slower, safer, simpler. And when it came to income, Evelyn didn't stop earning altogether. She just stopped working in ways that drained her. She offered part-time help at a local clinic just once a week, on her terms. She also began teaching beginner painting classes at the community center. It didn't make her rich, but it made her fulfilled. And it covered her little luxuries without touching her savings. Then there was volunteering. Evelyn started showing up once a week at a local senior center, not as a nurse, but as a companion. She read to residents, helped with simple crafts, and eventually led a weekly storytelling hour. Giving her time in this way added structure, social connection, and meaning to her weeks. Retirement didn't feel empty, it felt full in ways work never gave her. And through it all, she built a new routine. A morning walk. Afternoon tea. Painting by the window. Light financial tracking every Sunday. And regular time with her daughter and grandkids, not just on holidays, but on ordinary Wednesdays and quiet Saturdays. If you're thinking about retirement, don't just ask, can I afford it? Ask, what do I truly need to feel alive? What can I live without that's costing me more than it gives? What do I want more of? Peace, purpose, time? Start small, track your real monthly needs. Cut out what doesn't serve you. Explore part-time work that fuels you instead of drains you. Find places to give back that give you something in return. Because retiring isn't about quitting. It's about choosing your health, your time, your joy. And the final step Evelyn took? That was the game changer. It wasn't financial. It wasn't even about work. It was something deeper, something that redefined her entire future. And that's what we'll share next. For decades, Evelyn had been defined by one role, caregiver. As a nurse, a mother, and a friend, she poured herself into the needs of others. And while she was proud of the life she'd built, retirement brought something unexpected: silence. At first, that silence felt like a gift. No beeping monitors. No ringing phones. No late-night shifts. She had space to breathe. But slowly, that silence started to stretch. The days blended. The mornings lacked urgency. And something inside her began to whisper a hard truth: without purpose, peace can turn into emptiness. That's when Evelyn stumbled upon the real secret to a fulfilling retirement, and it wasn't in her pension plan or her bank account. It was purpose. And even more than that, it was people. It started one quiet Tuesday, when she wandered into the community center down the street. She hadn't planned to. She just saw the parking lot full and wondered what was happening. Inside, a cheerful woman at the front desk asked if she was there for the senior circle. Evelyn smiled politely and said no, but before she could leave, the woman handed her a flyer. "Just come once," she said. "You might find something you like." That flyer sat on Evelyn's counter for 3 days. Then one morning, on a whim, she went. The room was warm and buzzing with quiet conversation. No one asked where she'd worked. No one cared about her resume. What they asked was, "What brings you joy?" She didn't know how to answer at first. But she kept coming back. Week by week, she discovered pieces of herself she'd put away long ago. She joined a writing group, not because she considered herself a writer, but because she wanted to tell her story. She started volunteering at the community garden, pulling weeds and planting herbs with others who knew the value of slow work and good conversation. But the moment that changed everything? It came during a group discussion about local causes. Someone mentioned a school where children were falling behind in reading. Evelyn, without thinking, said, "I used to read to my daughter every night. I'd love to help." The following month, she was reading storybooks to second graders twice a week. And that's when her retirement stopped being a retreat, and became a mission. The children adored her. She brought life to the pages with her voice. Some of them began reading more confidently. One even wrote her a note that said, "You make books feel like magic." Evelyn hadn't realized how much she missed being needed, not in a draining, job-like way, but in a gentle, meaningful way. Her time had value again. Her wisdom had impact. And it wasn't just about the children. It was about her, too. She began to wake up earlier, not out of obligation, but anticipation. She chose her outfits with care. She started each day with a short journal entry, reflecting on something she was grateful for. She smiled more. Laughed more. She even joined a local walking club that met every Sunday at the park. What Evelyn discovered is something many seniors overlook: retirement isn't an end. It's an invitation. Not to withdraw, but to re-engage, with life, with others, and with yourself. You don't need a grand plan. You don't need to join every group in town. But you do need something that gets you out of the house, and into connection. Whether it's mentoring, gardening, singing in a choir, or crafting handmade cards for hospital patients, what matters is that you're doing something that matters to you. Because the happiest retirees? They're not the ones with the biggest bank accounts. They're the ones who feel useful, seen, and connected. So, what about you? What's that thing you've always wanted to do but never had time for? Is it learning a language? Restoring old bikes? Supporting a cause close to your heart? Drop it in the comments, we want to hear from you. Because sharing your dream could be the spark that reignites someone else's. And remember, it's never too late to start living with purpose. Evelyn found hers at 62. Yours could begin today. Evelyn's journey from a weary, overworked nurse to a vibrant, purposeful retiree is a powerful reminder of what's truly possible when we choose to prioritize ourselves, not just our obligations. For years, she pushed through exhaustion, trading precious moments with family and her own health just to keep up a routine that no longer served her. The stress, the missed birthdays, the fading energy, it all weighed heavily, leaving her feeling drained and disconnected. But when Evelyn made the bold choice to retire thoughtfully, with intention and courage, everything changed. She didn't just stop working, she started living. She found joy in unexpected places, through art, community, and new friendships that rekindled her spirit. The very things she once thought she had lost, purpose, connection, and meaning, became the foundation of her new life. Her transformation shows us that retirement isn't a full stop, it's a new chapter filled with opportunity. It's a chance to step away from stress and into a life shaped by your own desires and passions. Whether that means volunteering, pursuing a long-held hobby, or simply spending more time with loved ones, the key is to embrace this phase with openness and intention. If you're working past 60 and wondering if it's time to retire, take a moment to reflect on Evelyn's story. Ask yourself, are you living or merely existing? Is your work enhancing your life, or is it draining it? What might happen if you gave yourself permission to step into a life that feels fulfilling and free? Retirement isn't about giving up, it's about gaining more time, more freedom, more of what truly matters. It's about designing your days around what brings you happiness and peace. And while the transition can feel daunting, Evelyn's experience reminds us that it's never too late to reclaim your life. So, if you're ready to take that step, start small. Make a plan. Connect with others. Explore what ignites your passion. Because this is your moment to live fully, on your own terms, with joy and purpose. Remember, retirement isn't the end, it's your chance to begin again. If Evelyn's story struck a chord with you, don't keep it to yourself, hit that like button right now. Liking the video isn't just a way to show support, it helps this important message reach more people who might be struggling with the decision to retire or unsure about what comes next. Sharing this video with a friend, family member, or neighbor who is still working past 60 could truly change their life. Sometimes, all it takes is one story to inspire someone to make a positive, healthy change. And we want to hear from you, your experiences, your questions, your hopes. Drop a comment below telling us what you think about working past 60, or if you're already retired, what has made your retirement fulfilling? Sharing your story helps build a community where we support and learn from each other, making the journey of healthy aging less lonely and more empowering. If you're new here and want more guidance on living your best life after 60, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're here to bring you fresh, practical advice that's tailored to your needs, whether it's about managing health, finding purpose, or navigating life's changes with confidence. Subscribing means you won't miss out on future videos that could make a real difference in your daily life. Remember, your next chapter is waiting to be written. Let's face it together, stronger, wiser, and ready to live fully. So hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs it, leave your thoughts below, and subscribe for more life-changing tips on healthy aging. Your journey matters, and we're honored to be part of it.